Hello, everyone. Thanks for checking out this episode of Really Dicey. This is Manny, and I'm here with.
I'm Andy Peregrine, lead writer again of the Dune Adventures in the Imperium role-playing game. From Modiphius, I should say, as well. Although that should be self-evident, I think, by now.
But today we're going to talk about Agents of Dune, which is it's interesting. Starter sets are becoming the norm now, which I'm excited about. I love extra things that we get in box sets, but this is not a starter set per se.
No, I mean it does the same job. So it's like with a normal starter set. If you want to pick up the game and dive straight in, that's what this one does. But it's been very purposeful to call it, from our point of view, a campaign set. We wanted to do something a bit different with this one, a little more exciting, bit more involved. So we packed into this not just some bits to get you started. This is to start your campaign. So this is just the first building block in what will hopefully be a huge Dune enterprise, rather than just sort of do the starter set and then go, all right, what shall I get onto now? This is your first footfall on Dune, and that should create the setting of something big for your Dune game, rather than just a quick introduction. So we packed a lot into that will also help have your campaign. Even if you would be fool not to run the adventure, but if you bought the set and didn't even play the adventure, there is still a load of stuff in there that you will get a real use and value out of for any Dune game.
Oh, okay. So everyone wants to know this. What's inside the box?
Okay, everything. It was one of the things that was quite nice about this is when we started discussing a box set for Dune, nothing was off the table. Obviously, as time has gone on, we then worked out what will actually be functional and logistically possible. But we were even talking about, can we even put some cinnamon in there so it has a spicy scent when you open the box? Can we put gold-plated dice? How much is that? There's lots of. We didn't go quite that far, but it was nice to develop a project and a product where Modiphius was very insistent. Let's think of what is the biggest possibility we can do, and then try and work from the dreams and then scale our dreams back. And I think we've come up with something quite special. So you've got, there's a lot of very interesting things. For instance, you get a free PDF of the core book with the starter set. So you've got that before you start, you get a little there's a code inside the box. And you also get, of course, you've got a dice set in there as well. So if you just added up the price of a PDF core book and a set of dice, you've already knocked quite a lot off the price already, which I think is quite good. But then we've also got, obviously, the adventure itself. You've got a huge booklet for that. You've got some amazing player characters already set up. And each of those comes on their own character sheet. But it's just also got some players' information stuff on the back. So, again, even if you play your own characters, which you can do if you want to do, then you've got like a little player GM screen for every player you can hand out there. So those are really useful player reference. We have momentum tokens, threat tokens. There is a whole mini game in there for spice harvesting. So that's to see how well your house does when you are harvesting spice on Arrakis. There are maps all over the place. Most particularly, one of them, we've included a big size version of the dueling map from the core book. So if you want to run your own personal one-on-one duels, that's another useful part out of there that you can make use of. And there's a stack of cards, a huge amount of cards. These are including particularly one for every NPC, so you've got their stats on the back, so the handy reference cards, but also so the GM can fish them out and say, there you go, that's the guy, that's what he looks like, that's the person you're meeting. And all of those come with a little stand. We've got some little stands, so you can turn them into like instant figures, so you can use those for asset placement. It goes for all of the cards because, of course, you've also got a whole pile of asset cards for Mauler pistols, shields, Kinjals, all kinds of bits and pieces that you might need in the game. So all those sort of asset cards, NPCs, maps, all of this stuff is going to be amazingly useful for carrying on your whole campaign, and you'll get loads and loads of use out of all of those, even beyond when you played several adventures beyond this one.
How knowledgeable does one have to be to play the starters, the Agents of Dune? Do they have to be? Is at least watching the movie enough? Do they Should they read the novels more? Like how, if for those that watch the movie for the first time and they want to delve in, would you say this is an easy way for them to get acquainted with the system?
Yeah, no, absolutely, very much so. And that's where we've designed it. It's always when you come to these sort of products, you're trying to look for two very different audiences, because we want to serve the people who've already bought into the Dune role-playing game and also want more stuff. And they already know how it plays and how it works. But at the same token, we know that the film, particularly because it was so good, is going to get a lot of people reaching for a Dune product on the shelves. And we want to make a box set that's going to be as friendly for them when they open it as someone who's an experienced role player. So we've tried to write it so that it really takes you down to the training wheels. If you've never role played before, if you've never seen Dune, it explains everything as you go along. There's all the text is, some of the text is the GM reads it out, and then there are roles to do. It tells you what those roles are. And we've made a point of cutting down. There's no points where the GM is going, oh, hold on a minute, guys, I'm just going to read the next bit. And everyone sits in silence for 10 minutes. It's all sort of read out as you go, and it all works together as you run. But what we've also done with that is there are little breakout sections all the way through that show you little links to setting information. So if we mention, for instance, you might say the player characters come to Arrakis on a highliner. Now, you don't really need to know exactly what a highliner is to carry on in the game, because that's whatever that is, it's the thing that brought you there. So you're fine with that. But we've got a little breakout text. If the players say, what's a highliner? Can we know a bit more about that? There's a little sidebar in there that explains what these setting bits are. So if it's not already in the text that the GM is reading out to you to describe the scene, then it's in a little box that you can get that additional information just to fill in the gaps for your players if they're not so familiar with Dune. And the same goes for the rules. So every time as we work our way through the adventure, you are working your way through the rule system. So obviously it begins with you doing some simple roles, and then we start complicating that with difficulties and other roles and drives and all these kind of bits and pieces and focuses. But as we go through the book, we've also got little tags and breakouts that just have that rule as a little explanation, just detailed in the sidebar. So if you remember, I remember it told me about momentum, but I can't remember where that was. You just flick back and there'll be a sidebar with momentum in bold, and you go, that's where it is. You don't have to search through the text to try and find the rules. So gradually what you build up is a little rule book of all the little snippets and sound bites to give you rules reminders. So again, that's another useful tool that you can, when you've played this adventure, you can have that on the table for the players as a really quick reference. Hang on, where was momentum? I know roughly what it does. I just want a little section to remind me what the actual numbers are. Bang, they're there. But you get that. We've got trackers and all kinds of things there's a lot of stuff in there that you can put on the table to remind you of those rules. So we have there's a momentum tracker card that's got space for all the potential 6 you can have in a pile of threat. And it has some detail on what you can spend momentum on, how much momentum you get and where that comes from. So we've got a lot of bits and pieces that you put on the table to help expand the game, explain the rules, and have everything at your fingertips when you're running the game.
Okay. So in the opposite direction, for those that have been following and got all the books for the Dune RPG, what do you think they'll be the most excited about when it comes to this box set?
Okay, well, there's a lot of exciting things in the setting. So obviously part of the build-up for this is, what would you do if you were House Atreides taking over Arrakis, with your own house? So how are you going to play out all that stuff that's going on? And we've taken a few tweaks and fiddles to the kind of, we've been allowed to do a sort of alternate realm thing. So things are not going to play out quite the way you expect, but you're going to be able to do all the main similar beats to what you'd expect in the story, but what you do is going to be dependent on how things work, is going to be dependent on how you play the game. So, if you give your enemies too many opportunities, things could go bad for you. But if you manage things well, they may not have a chance. So there's a lot of bits and pieces you can do. The definition of how things are going to work in the game is very much dependent on how your players play through the adventure. And it's just, it's another adventure. It's a really good adventure. We're really pleased with what the writers have come out with for that one, that you just want to play through. And then, of course, you have all of this extra cool stuff you get in the box. So you've got all these asset cards and maps and zones and all this stuff that's going to be really useful and just get you excited to play the game, because it's always cool to have handouts. I mean, this is what we love. You don't see so many of them these days. So we've got, I love things like, if you say, at one point you get a mining report, the Harkonnen's previous report for how mining has gone, and we've got one of those. It's in the box. So you can hand that to the players and go, there's the numbers for you. There's all those bits, things you can hold in your hand and things you can reuse in other games as well. It can be really fun.
So let's talk about the art direction. I mean, so far every book that's come out, well, Modiphius always does a really good job with their art and then how they design their books. Are you doing anything different this time around?
No, well, we've carried on with the same art style that we had before. We've got, as you say, a stable now of amazing artists. We'd be a fool to not give them more work. It's so we've got Katya again carried through on that one, and some brilliant work with all those. And it's also nice that because we've got these player characters, which again all drawn out. It's one of the things I love doing. That I'll create these characters as the writer, and then we hand them out, and somebody goes away and draws pictures of my characters. It's brilliant. I love it. But we can also take those characters who are part of this new house, which is House Nagara. You can, of course, create your own. If you're more experienced, you can run them that way. It means we can insert those player characters into the art, so we can make it a bit more immediate. Go, that's you guys. There you are. That's you running from people trying to kill you, or that's you trying to look at your spice harvest and things. So that's always really good. But yeah, it's again basically continuing the same tradition and style for just amazing window into the world that we've had before.
Oh, excellent. This sounds fantastic. When do you see this product coming out?
Well, I think we've announced this, so it's fine. We should see it. It's pre-order now, so you can go straight to the Modiphius website and pick up and put your name down for it. That will mean you'll get it a little bit ahead of when it goes out in the shops. But we are very definitely expecting to see it on. We will have copies at UK Games Expo. Modiphius is going to be back at the conventions then. We're so looking forward to that. It was so good to do Dragon Meet a little while ago, but Games Expo is the first of the really big ones coming up, and I think we've got quite a big convention plan going on this year. So excited to see that. So that will be the big unveil. Will be at Expo, so you'll be able to get your copy straight from there. But if you pre-ordered, you'll probably have had your copy a little bit beforehand, and about the same time you should see it in shops. So it's around there. So we're looking about very early June. It should be when the box is actually out in people's hands. But I say, if you pre-order with us, you should see the PDF a little bit earlier than that. I think we're just putting the last finishing touches to it, possibly. I'll have to check with the project manager, Daniel. But that will be out quite imminently if it's not already going out to some people to get, so you can see what's coming with you. And then it will be just a bit ahead of the shops when it gets sent out to the shops. Possibly a month before that. I'm not too sure on the distribution chain. So around probably anything up to a month before shops. So sometime in May, if you pre-ordered, you should see the copy in your hands. But so you'll have the PDF to get started with, if you like, anyway.
Okay. One final question. For the Agents of Dune, if I was running this game and you were one of my players, who would you be?
Oh God, that's a good question. Yeah, you see, this is the problem. When I made up all the characters, I really like all of them. So I'm a big fan of the Bene Gesserit. It's probably going to be, I think either one of the brother or the sister, it's Shiro or Jiro Nagara, because we did those as one's a cool fighter, and another one is a sort of social character with cool wolf companion. So yeah, I'd probably Jiro actually, because I like the social characters. So he'd probably be the guy I'd go for.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you for taking time to talk to us about this, and to our viewers, stay tuned. I'll put a link to where you can pre-order this right now. Again, Andrew, thank you so much. I look forward to this, and to everyone out there, take care. We'll see you soon.